Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of OurVentura TV. Today we're going to be talking about anti-aging, and our guest expert is Dr. Steenblock, who is an expert on anti-aging and what he calls youngering. Welcome, Dr. Steenblock, and what is anti-aging and youngering?
Well, anti-aging, of course, is using a variety of things, especially hormones, to keep you from getting older. Whereas youngering is actually doing things to make you younger and be better, to improve your overall function. So your biological age is younger. Your chronological age we can't do anything about, but the biological age we can get it to be better, and you can become younger because of things like stem cells.
Whoa, okay, now hang on. So are you implying then that as you get older, you can actually, let's say, gain more strength or more agility?
Correct. Now there's a secret that nobody knows about apparently, except the people that I tell, and that is that if you look at all of the plants and animals throughout the world and throughout history that have never grown old, and there are these plants like they're 4,000 years old, a tree and whatnot, that is that kind of age. They just keep growing. And the point of it is that if you keep growing, you never get old. And the reason for that is because of growth factors. And now I did a study once where I took an umbilical cord is that cord that comes from the mom to the newborn baby. And so the doctor cuts the cord and the placenta, and he usually throws it away. I take that and make that into stem cells and whatnot. And in the process, I took some blood from that newborn baby and analyzed it for growth factors. And I found that out of 32 of the different growth factors I measured, they had this baby had about 10,000 micrograms per deciliter of these different growth factors. 10,000. Now I went back to my clinic and I had a 90-year-old lady who I said, let's check her. And I checked her growth factors, those same growth factors, and instead of 10,000 micrograms per deciliter, she had, on the average, 100. Many were absolutely not there. So the point is, if you have virtually no growth factors, you cannot repair your body. So you need those growth factors, and where you get those growth factors is from healthy stem cells. Healthy stem cells make the growth factors. So the combination is what you need. You need healthy stem cells, and those stem cells need to be making a lot of growth factors. And with that, you can repair and regenerate and actually become younger and healthier.
All right. Now, is there a way that we can define or describe stem cells in a very simple way?
Yeah, I think that the simplest way is to think of it as your body is like a plant or something that you plant in your garden. What do you plant? You plant a seed. In the human body, you have a zygote, which is the egg and the sperm put together in the first stage of life, and that forms one cell. That's called a zygote. That's the same thing as the seed that you're planting in the garden. And so now that zygote, that seed, now replicates and grows. And as it's growing, it starts to form different tissues, et cetera, and becomes a human being. But in that phase of early development, while the baby's still in the womb, if you were to take some of those tissues, you can extract some of these seeds from the baby and use those for treatment. And so we take the umbilical cord blood and take the seeds from the blood, and those are almost like the human zygote in the sense that they have the ability to grow in your body and to produce all these different growth factors and help with the repair process of pretty much anything that's wrong with you.
Okay, so would I be correct in re-articulating this by saying stem cells are some matter that comes from umbilical cords, but that tends to diminish as we get older? But if you present it to older people, then their growing can get reestablished.
Right. Yeah. And so the problem is that they're still expensive to grow and whatnot. So the whole thing is a little expensive. But if you're 80 years old and you've accumulated dollars and you're saying, well, I'm not going to take it with me, so why don't you spend it on yourself? And with that, you can spend another 10 or 20 years. For example, you mentioned that I was an expert on anti-aging. And I tell you, I have a friend who is the real expert. he's another doctor, and he's still working at 114. So,
Wow.
so we have, so there's my hero. And so we have people around us now that are growing old and being quite healthy as compared to the way my mother and father were, my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather died when he was 65. My father died when he was 85. I hope to die when I'm 125. So, it's happening now, and we're having so much technology and so many advances that it's entirely possible that many of us are going to live a lot longer than we ever thought possible. So we better take care of ourselves and save our nickels, because we're going to be around for a while.
All right. Now, Dr. Steenblock, do these stem cells, how they use them or how you apply them to a person, are they specifically targeted to a complaint or malady, or are they just generally help everything in your body?
Well, yeah, it's interesting in that in general you can just give them IV intravenously, or you can just give them subcutaneously, or you can inject directly into the organ that's damaged. And in general, you're going to get results from all of those different ways if your stem cells are good. Now, saying that means that the way that the stem cells are manufactured and prepared that does have a role to play in how good what kind of results you get. And so we have, in this country now, we have a lot of people doing stem cells, but they're rather inferior in the sense that they take umbilical cord blood or umbilical cords, and they grind it up and put the ground up material into vials and give it to doctors. That's not what we're talking about. That's just a Gemisch, the German word for just a mixture of things. And in that, there's some stem cells. Whereas I have my own laboratory. I'm the only doctor in the country that has his own laboratory for growing his stem cells and lab techs and all that. And so I'm able to make the highest quality, the finest stem cells for my patients and offer them at a price less than everybody else.
Wow. Okay, so to further enhance my understanding, at least, the stem cells that come from a baby's umbilical cord are by themselves valuable, but when you process them further in a lab, then you are either making them more, they're just better, or you're somehow making them so they can be better facilitated within a body or someone else's body.
You can make them safer because by making them pure, you don't have reactions. So there are graft versus host reactions where your body is reacting to the blood type of the baby. So the baby is a type A and you're type O, your body may react against those A antigens and you might become sick. Whereas if you have a pure stem cell, your body does not react to it no matter what your ABO type is or your HLA type is. It's amazing. Now, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, all the medical doctors in the research lab said it was all poppycock and that's not true, et cetera, et cetera. And they were always warning everybody about that anybody was claiming that you could use these stem cells for treatment of people. We were nuts because we were going to have all these graft versus host reactions, et cetera. And I kept telling them, they're wrong, I'm right. I've done thousands and have had absolutely no problems. To this time, I've done over 200,000 vials of stem cells. And with virtually no side effects. So it's a marvelous technique. It's simple, and you get on the average, about 80% of the patients have some degree of success. Some very good, not so good, and then there's that 20% that doesn't have a good result. And the point of that is that oftentimes there's a reason. And so you and I don't know all of the machinations that are going on in our body. And so if we have an infection in our lung and we don't know about it, we give stem cells. Those stem cells are going to go to the lung and try to work on the lung and that infection, not on your stroke or your heart or whatever. And so we have to check you over carefully and try to make sure that there's nothing that's going to distract the stem cells. I like to think of it as my garden again, and your body is your garden. And if you don't have if you don't clean your garden, if you leave trash in your garden, you have tin cans and paper and crud and whatnot and weeds, and you try to plant seeds there and you think that you're going to grow a nice crop, you're wrong. You have to clean it out. You have to get the soil ready. You have to prepare it. You have to fertilize it. You have to water it. You have to give it sunshine. If you do all those things, you're going to have a good result. And that's the same thing as true for the human being and stem cells.
Well, okay, thank you. And what is the website?
www.stemcellmd.org.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Steenblock. We're going to wrap things up here.
Great. Thank you very much.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.